The federal government recently introduced a series of tax reform bills aimed at boosting revenue generation. The National Assembly is currently considering the bills, while the federal government is engaging the stakeholders to get their input. The bills include the Nigeria Revenue Service Bill, the Nigeria Tax Bill, the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Bill. As the nation seeks to diversify its revenue base and reduce dependence on oil, questions arise about how these reforms will affect businesses, investors, and the broader economy. Well, to help us unpack this, we are joined by Jaiyeola Adebola, a chartered accountant with experience in tax consultancy and financial management, to shed light on these reforms. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you very much.
The proposed tax reform bills involve a tax bill and administration bill. Tell us, how do they aim to address revenue shortfall?
Okay, for the tax reform, first of all, the former tax regime that we had, it had so many acts, and this reform bill now is seeking to bring all these various acts into just one bill. Instead of having the Personal Income Tax Act, the Company Income Tax Act, the VAT Act, and all those other acts, we now have one bill that is addressing everything, and that is the reform bill, the tax reform bill. Now, it's going to affect different sectors of the economy. It's going to affect the individuals in the sense that disposable income now is going to increase. What I mean by disposable income is the amount of income that is going to be available for individuals to spend in the open market now is going to increase, because as against the former Personal Income Tax Act, in which even as low as 300,000 naira is taxed at 7%. Now, if you are not earning up to 800 or more than 800,000 naira, you are not liable to be taxed. And then even the taxing has been reduced. That is on the part of the individuals. Now, one would look at, okay, how is the government going to now get their money from this? Because it's like the government now is giving more to the individuals than to the government. So how does government now make their money from this? The allowance that used to be given to individuals before, which is the Consolidated Relief Allowance, now the name has been changed to Rent Relief Allowance. Before, the Consolidated Relief Allowance was 200,000 naira plus 200,000 naira or 1% of gross income plus 20% of gross to be given as a relief before the remaining, whatever is remaining is left to the individual is taxed. But now it has been reduced to 200,000 naira or 20% of the rent allowance, whichever one is lower. So which means whoever has a high rent, that means all you are entitled to is just 200,000 naira as relief, as against what was before. Yeah. So that now will add to whatever the government has to tax. Then aside that, we also talk about the company income tax. The company income tax before, small companies were looked at as people earning up 10 million naira per annum, but now, as in their revenue. But now it has been increased to 50 million. So that means if you're not earning up to 50 million naira, you are not liable to tax. And then before there was 1% tax for 1% minimum tax for whoever is not earning enough or who is not making enough profit. But now that 1% has been eradicated. So which means if you're not earning up to 50 million naira as a company, you are not liable to tax. So that will give an enabling environment for companies to bring their business into Nigeria. And aside the company income tax, there are some other taxes that are charged companies.
Okay.
And now all those have been, before, that was up to like 3.25%, but now everything has been reduced. So you don't have to pay different taxes anymore. Now there's just one, which is the development tax. Before you'll have the, NASEP, that's then National Information Technology tax. You'll have education tax and so many other taxes. But all that now has been eradicated and brought to just one, which is the development tax. And that development.
What about small and medium scale enterprises? Are there provisions to protect or support them amidst this increased tax burdens?
Yes, that's why I said the first thing I said was for companies that do not earn up to 50 million per annum. So that will cover small business and medium. So even if you are a small business, if your business does not earn up to 50 million, then you are not brought to tax. And of course, the tax has been reduced from the former 30% to 27.5 in 2025, 2026, and then it will further go down from 2027 to 25%. And then even the development tax is 4%, and it will further go down in from 2027 to 2029 to 3%, and then in 2030 it will further go down to 2%. So which means as from 2030, all the tax that will be charged will be 27%, as against the former 33.25%.
How can Nigeria balance the need to increase tax revenue while promoting economic growth at the same time?
Well, for economic growth, although now the VAT has been, there was the idea of increasing VAT before, but now it has been paused. But even then, before, most of the VAT goes to the federal government, but now it has been moved to the state and local government. Most of it now resides with the state and local government. And that means that there is more cash for the states to run their states and for the local government to run their local government. So which means most of the money now that is coming to the federal government now is going back to the people in form of VAT, whatever is gained from VAT. And then before, the VAT is according to where the money, where productions are generated. But now it is not production-based now, it is consumption-based. What that means is, unless even if you're not producing anything in your state, as long as you have people in your state consuming these products, then you are going to benefit out of the VAT. And then you get more out of the VAT, according to the generation of, according to your consumption, than a state that does not have enough people to consume that particular thing. So now it's going to be consumption-based instead of production-based. So that means big states that have big companies or that have their headquarters there paying the VAT, while the people that are actually consuming it are in other states. Now they do not have to cheat other people. So now, if you have people in your state that is consuming, then you get more from the VAT.
Talking about VAT, what will be the likely impact on inflation and the average Nigeria's cost of living?
Well, for inflation, the essential things or the essential commodities are not VATed. And talking about essential commodities, we're talking about food, we're talking about health products, we're talking about education. They are not being brought to tax. So which means if you are consuming the basic things, for you to eat your basic food, then you don't have to pay VAT. And that means the production of food can now come down. Because before they will tell you that whatever is, they are adding their VAT to the food that you are consuming. So the average man, whatever they are consuming from the market is being VATed. But now that all those are being exempted from VAT, that means food should come down because the VAT element in the food has been taken away. So food should come down. Then the access to medications and all that now are not VATed. So that should also come down. So that will ensure that you have, there's a kind of reduction in the basic things that a human needs, which is food, shelter. For shelter, now if you're going to sell your personal house, you don't have to bring it to CGT anymore. That is capital gains tax. It is no longer taxed. So which means now accommodation and all that should also be affected by that. And those are the basic things that an individual in the country needs. So that should make life easier for the people.
Are the proposed tax reform bills in line with global tax practices?
Yes, they are. In fact, on the long run, if you check the global trend, you'll discover that the VAT that is being charged now is a whole lot lower than what is obtainable in other parts of the world, and even the company income tax has also been brought lower than what is happening in other parts of the world. So I would say yes, in Nigeria, what we are having now as tax is a whole lot lower than what they have in other parts of the world.
All right. Many Nigerians are still apprehensive about the bills, especially some state governors. What message do you have for such people?
The major reason why, especially the state governors, have been apprehensive about this new reform is the fact that is the belief that if you are not producing a particular thing, then you will not share out of the VAT, or whatever VAT you're getting is going to be lower. But I believe there was a meeting with the governors recently, and I believe that was addressed. And they've been brought to understand the fact that now VAT is no longer production-based as it used to be. So their fear has been addressed. VAT is now consumption-based. So which means if you have the population to consume, then you are getting a higher. So, they were thinking before that because of those in the north, that probably because of all this unrest and everything, they are not able to go about their normal businesses. Now they don't have the capacity to produce in their state. This new reform will now ensure that they get even lower amount. But that is not it. As long as you have population in that state to consume these things, then you will get a higher portion of the VAT.
Oh, Ms. Jaiyeola Adebola, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very
this
much.
Afternoon. Moving on, oil prices